I'm gonna get verklempt. Oh my God, and I'm not faking it. Let me hold on for a second. Hey, I am coming to you from my studio. This is my away from home studio. I have one in my home, and that's where I do the oil part of the paintings, and then I do a lot of the bigger abstract mark making in the plant-based acrylics like this. I do that here because this is actually my photography studio. I did photography for about, I don't know, 15 years, something like that. And COVID kind of made me reinvest in my art. I was still doing art, but it really made me refocus. And so this studio is not being used very much for photography. It still gets used. I still have a lot of great equipment and I'm not gonna not use it, but it's a beautiful studio and I want to use it. I'm gonna pay for it. I'm not gonna get rid of it. So I do a lot of the bigger stuff here, and this is new for me. I haven't worked this large before, so it's really exciting and challenging, and there's nothing I enjoy more than learning something new. So I wanted to get on the video with you and talk about where I'm going and what I've been thinking about a lot. I feel like I want to just talk to you today. And what I want to talk about is the fact that I turned 60 2 weeks ago, probably. I was looking forward to becoming 60. I wanted to be 60 and I thought it was going to be cool to be 60. I want to tell you, yes, it is cool to be 60 because I feel like I am in club. I'm in the I don't have to give a rat's whatever about a lot of stuff. What I'm trying to say is that you don't need to care about all the stuff that you think you need to care about. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be good looking. You don't have to make sure your hair is just right. That stuff actually doesn't matter. And I feel like we're sort of, yes, we have a huge societal pressure, especially on women, to look a certain way, to be as perfect as possible, even though this is the DNA we were given. There's no going back. You can't just change your DNA. This is the bone structure I was given. I was given this nice big Russian nose. That is just it. I'll show you from the side. But I was also given this brain and these hands that can make art. And why isn't that good enough? I don't have to be perfect. My face is very asymmetrical, especially interestingly, I'm learning that from doing videos, especially the way I talk. I think I talk a little bit asymmetrical, but my eyes I've always known. This one just goes up all on its own. Like if you ever see that, I'm not controlling it. That I did, but you know what I mean. And I feel like we were given that message because we needed to find a mate. It's just sort of a biological imperative. So we're given this message that you have to be as perfect as possible. And it's interesting what we think is important, even biologically, because we're looking for health. We're looking for signs of health in a mate. I'm just talking about biological imperatives, things that we were given from eons of evolution. And so that's why I think that looking perfect, being thin, either having boobs or not having boobs, stuff like that, I feel like that's all just this undercurrent of trying to get a mate. And that is a biological imperative because we are driven to reproduce. I did not personally reproduce, so I was not personally driven, but as a species, we're driven to reproduce, just like any other species on the planet. I do think that it's a biological imperative, but I don't know that we should live our lives and let that rule us, especially as women, for our entire lives and feel shame and embarrassment or whatever about how we look. My teeth are crooked, so effing what? I keep trying not to swear. I actually, because I did not reproduce, as I said, I actually have never cleaned up my mouth because I didn't have kids. I didn't have to do that. So I love to swear. It's actually quite fun. But I'm not going to do that on the YouTube, so I'm going to try not to. So now you know so much more about me than I've ever shared. Of course, this is only going to be my 4th video. So let's get back to the fact that I'm happy to be in the 60s club. So I don't have to worry about how I look. Now, I will be honest and say, because I'm doing the YouTubes, this is a lot more makeup than I would normally come. I might even come to the studio with no makeup. Who the heck is going to see me, and why do I care? I used to wear makeup to go to the store. Just to leave the house, I had to have makeup on. Wow, that's a lot to put on someone. And when COVID happened and we weren't going out, I stopped putting the makeup on. And I thought, this is great. This is so much I don't have to do. And so that was kind of fun. And also, if I did go to the store, I had a mask on. So actually, they're only seeing there. So what do I care? They don't even know who I am. And so now we'll go to the store without makeup, no problem. So for the video, I'm just trying to give you guys the best experience possible. If you have to look at my uneven face, my uneven 60-year-old face, oh, why don't I make it a little bit nicer for you? There's just a level that I'm just like, I just have to reach a certain level and I'm fine with it. You know what I mean? But I will tell you these things. I do feel like I'm part of a club. I do still have my health. Right now, I have the ability to paint. Right now, I have a wonderful husband and beautiful children that I call cats, and it's all a good thing. The world is falling apart, but right now, in this absolute moment in my life, everything is okay. And sometimes you have to embrace that. And the other thing I feel like I get to embrace now is my true, I'm gonna get verklempt. Oh my God, and I'm not faking it. Let me hold on for a second. I get to embrace my true nature. And my true nature is a very empathic nature, a very compassionate nature. That's always been who I've been my entire life. And I was shamed for that when I was younger, very mildly. I'm not saying I was abused, so don't take that. But I was always too generous. I was always too modest. I was always too sensitive. And maybe that's the artist nature. Maybe many artists are that way. I believe so. Because we take all that stuff in order to make the stuff happen. So I get to, as a 60-year-old woman, although I should have done it a long time ago, I get to embrace the fact that I'm extremely compassionate and extremely empathic. And the destruction of the world breaks my heart, and that's okay. I did a painting and it's called With a Broken Open Heart. There's a woman named Joanna Macy, she's passed now. She was a deep ecologist, and she talked about how to be a deep ecologist, to really feel the ecology deeply and take it in, is to actually go through the world with grief, because there's so much happening that's heartbreaking. And it's this sense of being okay with that, going through life with a broken, open heart, not closing it off, being open. I know that if I love the world, I know that if I love the environment and all the animals, that it's gonna break my heart. I can't always be open every second of the day because I probably wouldn't function. But in a real sense, my art is my way of doing it safely, because the art contains all that heartbreak for me. I guess I better get... When I was going through training as an art therapist to get my master's, they talked about the concept of the artwork in between the therapist and the client. The artwork was actually the conduit of connection. So instead of the client really needing to project their stuff onto you, which they would anyway, but instead of them needing to project it onto you, like in traditional therapy or psychoanalysis, they would be transferring their issues onto you as the therapist. It's actually going into the artwork. So that really stuck with me, because that was true. I could see that happening, is that we would connect through the artwork. You would get a connection, because as an art therapist and as an artist myself, just looking at artwork, it affects you. I might not know exactly what they were talking about in their art, but it definitely affects you. So you definitely have an emotional connection or some kind of psychological connection to your client through the artwork that they're making in therapy. And I think the same is true just when you stand in front of a canvas. you're in relationship with that canvas and with the paint and with the painting. You're in a relationship with that and you're projecting your stuff onto it. There comes a time when that painting starts to live all on its own. It's not really me anymore. It's the painting, and the painting starts to direct me, and the painting starts to tell me what it needs and what it wants. I feel like probably a lot of painters feel that way. So I do think that if you let it, I think the artwork becomes the container for you. I think it becomes the safe place. I think it becomes, in a way, the therapist. The therapist is someone who's there to be a vessel for you, and they can safely hold it for you until you're ready to deal with it, or as you're dealing with it. I think the same thing is true of artwork, if you let it. I hope that you make artwork. I hope that you make a lot of artwork, and I hope that you don't judge your artwork or think that your artwork is a judgment of you or a reflection of you. Well, I guess it's a reflection of you because you're projecting your stuff on there. But what I mean is, let's say you make something and you don't like it. So what? It needed to be made. I know that there's a sense that every artwork is a self-portrait. Every painting is a self-portrait in a way. But at the same time, I think that you shouldn't judge your artwork as a reflection of you. It doesn't mean you're a bad person or even a bad artist or anything like that. None of that effing matters, really, when you think about it. I think that it's just all a process, and you need the process. So even if it's just in your sketchbook, if you're worried about people judging you, then don't show people. Who cares? Put it in your sketchbook and say, this is where the stuff goes, whether I like it or not. But I do think that you need to do it because it is a vessel for you if you let it be. And if you don't judge it. I remember I was taking a class because I was trying to learn how to paint well with Scott Burdick and Susan Lyon. And Susan Lyon said that when they were going through their training in Chicago at the American Academy of Art with Mr. Parks, I remember all this stuff because I wrote an article about them for Workshop magazine back in the day. And anyway, she said, I believe she said that Mr. Parks used to say, smile at your painting and your painting will smile back at you. And that's so true. Don't get frustrated at your painting. Don't do that. Be in relationship with it. Be like, okay, we're in this together. There was this painting, it was just like a 16 by 20, it was right here, hanging on the easel wall thing that's behind there. And there were a lot of drips on it. It was very dark. And I just looked at it and I thought, oh my God, the painting looks really sad. And I cried and I pulled it off the easel and I hugged it and I said, it's okay. We're going to get through this together. And what it meant to me personally, I projected onto it, was my feelings of, I feel a lot of responsibility and a lot of guilt about the environment. And it was my feelings of, oh my God, I let you down. I'm so sorry. And because I'm 60, I'm so excited to be 60. Well, that means that I lived through all those decades and I didn't really do anything about it. I knew back in the 80s that it was happening, that global warming was happening and it was predicted to be bad. And I was young then. And I thought, oh, for sure, they're going to figure it out. For sure, they're going to figure it out. And I had how much power do we have? We don't have a lot. They like to say the whole carbon footprint thing. They put that on us because the fossil fuel companies don't want to take responsibility for what they've done. They want us to feel guilty. That's actually the truth. And they sowed doubt. They specifically sowed doubt on purpose, the fossil fuel companies, just like the tobacco industry did the same thing. So there was a lot of inaction for a lot of decades. And there I was trying to live my life thinking, surely these people in power are going to figure it out. Surely they're going to look at the data and they're going to figure it out. Sure. Like I just thought for sure they would figure it out. And I'm just an artist. What do I know? And now I've been through so many decades that I realize obviously they were not going to figure it all out. They might know the truth, but they weren't going to do anything about it. And that's a hard pill to swallow, that you kind of were complacent all that time, and now here we are. But I also look back and think, well, like, what was I going to do about it? I guess I could have been more outspoken, but also there was so much sort of anti-caring about global warming. They really, and they're doing it so much now. Like, you can see it. It permeates the air, how much denial they've sowed and how much sort of anti-science they are, and how they've fired all the environmental scientists. And it's astounding what they've done. So now it's worse than ever. And so I'm still left with all this bad. I'm still left with all that. And what I have is I can hug my painting and say, it'll be okay. We'll get through this together. And I don't know that we will, but I do know that I have to make choices that say to myself, my inner personal self, my 60-year-old, I can do whatever I want with my money now. So I'm going to buy plant-based acrylics. I don't want to paint with regular acrylics if I don't have to. I still want painting to feel like me, and it has to be exciting, but I get to make choices that make me feel better, and that's okay. Now, am I going to save the environment? Is the world going to be saved because I buy plant-based acrylics? No, I know that. The world isn't going to be saved by anything I do. I recycle all my plastic bags. Things are getting better. I'm seeing more products made with partially recycled plastic, which I think I never thought I'd see, which I really like. So that means that there's a place for that recycled plastic to go. So that's great. That makes you feel like maybe there is something to do with this plastic that I keep collecting and they keep collecting. But I don't know. I'm not in control of that. All I can do is what I do, right? And all you can do is what you do. So here I am with my feelings of responsibility and guilt and complacency. And I don't have the personality of an activist. I just don't. It kind of makes me feel kind of shrivelly inside if I think about going out to a protest. I have gone to protests, but I don't know. I'm not saying I won't, but I'm saying I feel like I was given talents, and my God-given talent, my reason for being put on this earth was to make art. And so this is my answer. I don't know if that answer is good enough. I don't know. I know it's not good enough to change anything, but is it good enough to be a human being on the planet? So hopefully my art will touch someone else. And that's probably all I can expect. That's probably the best I can expect, and the best that there is. I show up to the canvas and I do the work, and then the art does something for me, and then hopefully then the art, I put it out in the world and the art does something for someone else. That's all I can ask for. That's it. I've had people come to my booth and cry in front of my artwork. How much more can you expect or want than that? Personally, from a person who's empathic by nature, to me, that's the pinnacle. I think I'm going to stop this here. Hopefully that's on a bright note. What I will say is I'm in the 60s club. I'm 60 and I'm excited about it, and I feel liberated. I feel very fortunate, and I'm very grateful for that. And I hope that you can think about some of the things I said, and maybe even if you're not 60, or maybe if you're older than 60, or whatever it is, it doesn't really matter. Because here I am as a 60-year-old person, just standing in front of you, pouring my heart out, and hopefully that helps. That's all I can ask for, just like my artwork. All right, I'm gonna make some artwork now. I'm gonna stop talking. All right, subscribe, please. Oh my gosh, if you were inspired by anything I said, tell me about it. And tell me your life lessons. Tell me your struggles. I'm just saying the environment is my thing. It doesn't have to be your thing. You can have your own thing. You could like to paint dogs or something like that. It doesn't matter. That's who you are. That's who you were made to be. All right. Bye.
Let me call you sweetheart.